So welcome to my channel TechMeUp, and today we are gonna talk about UiPath apps. How can we create one? It's easy to do. Let me guide you how we can do that. So you just have to head over to cloud.uipath.com. You just log into it, then go to the app section from these 9 dots over here at the top, and you can select apps. Once you are on this particular page, you can click on create new app. Here you would have to just name your app. You might call it as anything you want. I'll call it here dummy app. Next is like we can select it either to create a VB app or a legacy app. So difference between both of them is one of them utilizes VB expressions to like put any kind of logic, or if you want to apply some functions, which if you are acquainted with VB, you can directly use that. And VB apps offers us a lot of different features and things as well. So I'll just select VB apps from here and we can click on create. Another option is importing from a file. So if one of your friend or teammate have created any app and you want it on your system in a different tenant in UiPath, you can just click on import from file, select that file and just upload it. That particular app would now be available on your UiPath apps. For basic creation, let's begin with. I'll just give the name, select VB and just click on create. Next thing, it will render an app, but it would ask you first, like if you want to select anything from the template. So we have a few templates which are readily available, which we can select from here. If anything suits your need, you can go ahead with it, or else you can click on a blank page. Just for showcasing, I'll go with this form D. So this particular form has been rendered to you. You can see each and every field over there. The structure of your app would be shown at the right left hand side over here. Now let me just show you how this app would look if someone wants to see it in real life. That is how insane it is, right? Easy to do. We have this app over here with us. We can just play around with it, enter any details that we need, and then we can just click on submit. Right now no action is allocated to that, so I'll just close this app. But this is how a template would create a new app. What if we want to do it? How would we do it? Okay, so firstly I'll tell you what is the structure of this app studio looks like. So on the left hand side, we can see the whole structure of our app. From every element that you would be picking up while creating it, everything would be shown over here, okay, on the left hand side. Along with that, let's say if you have something, some queues or maybe integrations or maybe some media, all those things would also be showing up on the left hand side. I'll tell you what those things are and how we can configure it in the later parts of the videos. But moving to the next part, at the top we do have one thing over here which says add control. Along with it, we can add other things to the apps as well. So the other things that we can add to the app are a page. We can import the page from a different file as well. A control, that might be your container or your input fields, or a button. Entities is something related to the data service in UiPath Orchestrator. We can import entities and then we can play around with it. Next is connections. These are related to integration services. So if you have an integration service created and you want to utilize that in your UiPath app, you can directly do so. A process, whichever you have developed from the studio and you want to trigger it maybe on a certain condition or maybe on the click of a button, we can do that. Storage buckets, let's say if you want to store some media files which are uploaded into your app and then later on you want to utilize those files, we can do that as well. A queue, which would let you handle transaction based processes. An action, to create an action form which will send an action to the action center and then you can submit it from there. A variable or a media. Okay, so right now we will just begin with the page control. and I'll select a blank page. Moving to the right hand side, we have this properties panel over here, wherein like we will get different set of properties for each of your I'll say control that we would be adding. Okay, so those properties would be defined in three different tabs. One is general, second is events, and third one is style. So in general, there would be some description, tooltips, and there would be some color property, no color property, hidden property or disabled properties. Those kind of properties would be there along with required fields for some of the controls. Next is events. In events, you can configure different set of rules, and these are gonna be available on almost all of the controls that we would be adding over here. Okay, we will talk about these as well. Close. Style. So let's say I want this page to look somewhat differently. I don't like this lightish blue color over here. What I'll do is I'll just select this and I'll set it to white. Okay, next is, let's say for any particular app we have seen, it has some kind of header attached to it. So what we will do is I'll place a container over here, and then we can drag and drop one header to it. Okay, for here I'll just write dummy app. Now you see here there are some properties attached to this particular control, which are display properties, hidden and disabled. If I set it to true, when we render the app, it would be hidden from the user's view, and if I select as disabled, it would not be clickable. For this particular header, we don't need those properties. Moving ahead, I'll also have some styling attached to it. So I want to keep it as in center. I want to style it, like we can directly use some styling properties as well directly. So if I make it as a headline, it sets the font size to this, but let's say I want to increase it a bit more. I want to make it look bolder. We can set the margins and the size of your control over here as well. No need for that right now. Moving ahead, adding another control. Let's say I want my page to look in three different sections. One of them from here to here, then second from here to here, and third here to here. So I'll use a container layout. Okay, I'll add three containers over here. Make one of them like this much. I'll rearrange here, make it look bigger, and the third container, fit it, and then drag it up here. This is similar to what we see in a bootstrap kind of design. It will separate your layout into form of grids. Then you can modify each one of them however you like. So for the first one, I like to add one image over here. So let's go here. Then for the image to be added to this particular control that we have inputted or imported, we'll go here, click on media. I'll go to this section. I'll select this one. Now you see whichever file we have selected is now available over here in the media section. How can we set it up? So we'll go to the general property, select source, go to media, select your file. That would be available to you now. Okay. Now in this mid section, what I want to do is I want to create a form kind of structure, for which we can do is add control, select input field and text box. In here, I will go to this, I'll just remove the label from here. I don't want it. I want it to look like something like this, name. So this is gonna be your placeholder kind of property. No, not this one. not the default text in here. This one. This is your placeholder property. You can, like, this particular thing would be removed whenever someone goes in there and types their name. Okay. Another thing, I'll add another text box. I'll remove the label. I'll write contact number. Then again, let's just copy paste this and write as email address. Again, just copy pasting this with city. In addition to this, I want one button over here which would help us to submit the values that we are gonna have. I'll have a submit button, text to submit, and also we can use an icon from the provided ones. So I'll say upload. Easy, right? These form have now some fields, a submit button. Now what we can do is, okay, let's do one thing. Now whatever values that we are getting from this particular field, let's say I want to showcase in some part of my app, right? That is gonna be a basic thing which we might have to do in some of our use cases. So what I'll do is I'll take a display field and I'll take a label from here, and I'll just remove everything which is written. Control C, Control V, Control V. Okay. So I have just created some blank labels over here. If you want, you can keep them as blank. If you want to, like, do something else with it, feel free to do that. But right now, let's set a rule on the submit button over here. Okay. I'll go to event, create rule, and I'll use a set value over here. Now, prior going to the next part, let's do one thing. Let's try to see how this page looks like. Okay. We just can right click here, set as a start page, so that whenever you are clicking on the preview button, your new page should be the starting page of your app. Okay. I'll just go ahead and click on preview button. Okay. So this is how the image would look like. These are the form fields, submit button, and that's it. One thing that we can do is make it a bit more spacious. So there are some other properties as well. Let's say if I want to make it distributable, I don't need to like select any other property, set some different margins. I can just directly select it as a distributable one and it would do the thing. Other thing is, like, if you want to expand this field to your whole container size, you can just click here on stretch after selecting your control and it would do. And if your container size is gonna reduce, it will also go along with it. Right now we don't need it that much bigger. I'll make it to the left one itself, and this is also looking far too much. So margins, no need. I guess I'll add one more button over here later. Okay. So if we can continue and go to the submit button and to the rule, what we can do is we can set the values, but prior to doing that, it will be a little bit confusing for us. So let's change the name of your controls. Name input, CNO input, email address, field, city input, submit button, name out, address out, city out. Okay. Now going to the submit button, clicking on edit rule, I'll click here, set my control. The control is without field, so name out dot value should be set to controls name input and its value. See now dot value. See now input dot value. Same goes for the other fields. Okay, now if we can just save it and let's try this out. Name Aditya, some contact number, then some text and then city. And if I just click on submit, the text is now visible over here. Moving ahead, first thing that I want to do is right now we can see that we can enter n number of digits, but I want to put a limitation over here that it should be only 10 digits. Okay, so first thing I'll show you is we can put some rules over here as well, saying that minimum length and the maximum length should be 10. Okay, this is one thing. Now if I try to save it and click on preview, name again Aditya. Now if I enter some long length of digits, it will say that no, your field should have only 10 digits. If I enter something less than 10, then also it will give me. If I enter 10 digits, it will let me go to the next field without any particular error. But still, the point is like you can enter a lot of other digits as well. I want to limit it that it should only have 10 digits in there. Okay, so one thing is we can use the input mask property over here. What do you want to input? So one thing is like I will show a placeholder over there saying that it would be 10 digits. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 digit. I want to mask underscores with a /d acceptance. /d is a regular expression which we can use for numbers. You can check that from this info button over here and it would let you see that. But now how would someone know that this is a contact number that we are gonna have? So let's do one thing. I'll add the labels back again, contact number, but this looks of not pretty, I'll say. So I'll go select label placements from here and this contact pixels with 150. Same goes for this one. I'll do is 150. Setting all the styling at once so that I don't have to bound back again and again to this particular field. With left placement and this is this left. Going to general, moving them and entering it over here. Okay, so form looks good now. I'll just remove these things because it's redundant. Okay, now if I save this and if I preview it, okay, name Aditya, contact number. So now it would only let me enter 10 digits over there. But what about this email address field? It's taking normal text as email address as well. I want to put some validations over there. So for this, we do not need to put any certain validations. We can directly go in, take the input field, text box, email, and it would handle all of those validations. Email address, styling as left with 150 pixels. Deleting, oh sorry, I pressed the wrong key. Deleting this button. Email address, input. We do have an error because we have deleted the previous one and the value was referring to the previous value itself. So we will have to go in again, select this, select value. Okay, saving it and going to the preview mode. Okay. Some number. Now if I try to move ahead, no, it's an invalid email. If I just go with this, no. If I go with this, no. Dot C, no. Go, it will let me. Dot N, yes. So this is how, and then city. These are some of the validations how we can enforce them over there. Okay. Now moving ahead, what I want to do is once we have submitted the value, I want to clear these values from here and they should be available only in this particular section of the page. Okay. For that, after submitting, I'll go here and add a new rule saying reset values, which is the thing that needs to be reset. One thing is I will name this container as input container. Okay, going back to the submit button, what I want to reset is the input container itself, controls and input container. We need not to give all the field values that we have over there. Okay, this single container would empty out all the input fields over there. So let's preview. That's how. Okay, now going to the contact number, one more thing that I wanted to show was I want the contact number to be like after 3 digits, 1 2 3, I want a hyphen, then 1 2 3, I want a hyphen, and then 4 digits. This is how you can go ahead with it as well. So previewing, this is how you can add some characters if you want a certain formatting for your input field. Now, what would happen, let's say if I just try to submit the values as it is, the blank ones. I know nothing's gonna happen since these are blank, your text would not be shown over there. But let's say if I give Adit, so only one field is being shown up, but I don't want to submit the form before every field is filled over here. Okay, also we can utilize one more field now that we have labels. I want to make this field as required. See, now if I can see that if I go to each of the field, it will say that yes, these fields are required and my submit button is being cut off due to that. Let's do one thing. Let's expand this container a bit. Okay, also what we can do is like we can give some custom rules over here. Something like this, and the validation messages would be shown over there. Okay, now if I just enter the name, it would erase those things. Okay, but still, let's say if I want to submit it right now, it would let me submit it. What I want is it should not let me click on the submit button, or maybe like it should show me a message over here. So first we are going to look how we can do that, how we can see a message over there. Okay, I'll go here, click on this plus button, use an if else condition, click on open resources, expression editor, and we have this autopilot feature as well. So what we can do is check for fields name. We might have to give the name fields as it is. Okay, so it generated this thing, but with pipes. So these pipes are not gonna be of any use. We can write or over here. Okay, so any of this field, if it is blank, it should not let me submit it. I'll click on the save button and drag and drop uh, like a show message over here first, saying fields should be filled in, and the message is some of the fields are empty in the form. And in the else section, if the values are filled in, we'll just set the value. And along with that, I'll also add a show message activity. Thanks for submitting the values. Here, successful. And this one should go like error. Close it, save it, and preview it. So if I just click on the submit button now, it will say like this, and this dialog box should this pop-up should go away in 5 seconds. We can reduce the duration as well. If I enter one field and try to submit it, it wouldn't let me. Entering the number again, no. That's how it's done, and my fields are also now clear. But what if I have entered all the fields wrong, or there is some mismatch and I'm confused? I want to clear all the fields once and then I want to enter the values. I can go in here and add another control with clearing functionality. So I'll just write clear. Okay, but I don't want it down below, and I want to add an icon as well. Close. So let's make it look a little bit better. I'll add another control for container layout. I'll make it like this, and I'll just add the submit button first. Then we can change its style to horizontal, and this clear button should be accommodatable right after it. But it's one bigger button, one smaller button doesn't looks good. So I'll say size as 100 pixels for both of them. Good. But let's make it go like they should reside in the middle center, like that. Yeah, looks good. Okay, so this is how we can recenter it, and then we can click on this clear button, go to events. So what rule needs to be set up here? It should be reset values. Okay, this pages, sorry, no, controls and input container. I want to blank it out. Let's say I've entered the values. And I want to clear them. This is how the clear functionality would work. Moving on now about these labels. These are just displaying the values. I want to show like name, then colon, and then the value. For this, one thing is when we are setting up the value from the submit button, we can write the expression over there itself. Okay. In edit rule, I can go in here, normal string operations. So name, then some space, colon, space, and then and plus button over here. For this one, contact number, colon, email address. Review. Some name, some number, and some city. Let's submit. Looks good, right? Now what we can do more than this, we probably, let's say if we want to get these values into a data service, that is one thing that I can showcase you. Okay, so let's click on this 3 lines over here, go to data service. Click on create new entity, user data dummy app. Create it. What I want is name field that should be of type text. Contact number. Save this. Email address. Save this. And city. Okay. These are the 4 fields that we would need. Let's head over to our app. We can go here, click on entity, select the tenant, select the entity from here, that was user data. And we have the entity added in our app. Now this entity can work like your database. Okay. Once after clicking on submit button, I don't want this data to be added or shown over here. I want it to be displayed inside the database itself, or just do not display, add this to the database, we'll utilize it later. Click here, you can create a rule which is create entity record. You can select the entity and then we can just select the values as we did for the set value rule. So for city, I would need city input and its value. So contact number, CNO, and email address, and when it's created, I'll just show a message which is gonna be the same one, that our data is successfully submitted. So I'll just drag and drop the rule first here and then to this section. Okay, and I can probably disable these rules right now. I don't want to delete them. Maybe for testing purpose I might utilize it later. So, and only when the data is submitted, then only it should reset the value. We can minimize this and then add it. Okay, close it, save now, and hit preview. The name is Aditya, contact number here, and submit. The values are submitted. We can see them in the database. That is our data service. So now that our data is inserted into the data service, we will see that how we can have that data which is present in our data service to be shown on the web page itself. I'll just click the a plus on that icon. I'll add the container, I'll add a table to it, which is here. Now for this table, let's do one thing. I'll create a new variable over here. Okay, that new variable is gonna have some value on the new page itself, saying let's open expression editor, create variable list underscore of users, list source of users, create, and list underscore users would be the value. Query builder, query this entity, close this one. Now we can head to our table over here and we can list that particular app variable here. with our columns rearranged like this, column correction, so that it becomes readable to the normal users. Contact number, email address, space. Done. Now, on the click of the submit button, we need to add the data to the data service entity, then show us the updated list. So I'll use app variable list users, query it again, save this. I'll rearrange it a bit. Now this table should be updated once we add the data into our data service. No. Just like that, you should be able to see your data whichever you are entering in your app over here. So that would be for today. I guess you have learned something about UiPath apps. How can you create it? What are the different sections of your app where you need to place certain conditions inside the events? What are different rules? And how can you build rules using Autopilot as well? I guess you had learned something today. Stay tuned, subscribe my channel. I'll definitely be uploading more videos on how you can develop a much reliable apps. Thank you.